Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
On this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, USDA launches an ambitious new research program on cattle feed efficiency.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back. The cost of feed for cattle is one of those economic variables that can make or break an operation. Ensuring that feed is used as efficiently as possible is also a mission for one group of researchers who are in the start of an exciting new project. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter has more.
It's a newly launched program, a first-of-its-kind USDA NIFA grant that will help both researchers and producers explore ways of making cattle more feed efficient.
Historically, as we look at feed efficiency, it has represented about 65% of the cost of production. With current grain prices, and as grain prices increase, it's not at all unusual for feed efficiency in the feedlot to be as much as 80% of the cost of production. So as you look at the costs that are involved in beef production, if you look at the factors that are related to profitability in individual enterprises, arguably feed efficiency could be one of the most important traits that beef producers have to deal with and have to strive to improve.
Feed efficiency is probably the most important attribute to the production of beef for the entire industry. The largest cost associated with beef production comes from feeding the animals, and if we can manipulate that cost structure so that we can produce high quality beef at a lower input cost, we're going to benefit everybody through the industry, the producers, the cattle feeders, as well as the consumers of beef.
The project is funded at $1 million annually for up to 5 years to support both research and extension activities. It involves industry partners, breed associations, cattle producers, and scientists from 11 different institutions. They'll look at data from over 8,000 animals across at least 8 different breeds.
And at a number of those institutions and at collaborating industry organizations, we're individually feeding animals for anything from a 80 to 140 day period to be able to directly determine what their feed intake is. The animals are being measured for their growth about every 2 weeks. And at the end of the process, we're actually slaughtering these animals and capturing carcass composition on the animals. So we know essentially how much feed they intook, what their growth was over that period, and at the end of the period, basically what the amount of lean body tissue was versus the amount of fat that was produced by those animals. And we can use that information to determine which animals had the best conversion of their intake into lean body meat production.
The primary emphasis of this grant is to try and get a marker or a tool that any producer can use to identify which animals in their herd are most efficient, and then also the ability to identify genetics out there that are going to make their animal more efficient. So if I want to use a bull and I want to use that bull to AI my cows, I can begin identifying which bulls are going to make the progeny from my cow herd more efficient.
We'll return to Missouri for more on this ambitious new feed efficiency program. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's return to reporter Brian Baxter, who's learning more about a new USDA feed efficiency research program.
Finding the genetic marker set that leads to more feed-efficient cattle is a challenge, especially since the cost of collecting that information on individual animals can add up quickly.
So what we need to have is a method to be able to select animals for feed efficiency that's relatively inexpensive at the producer level. And DNA marker technology is one that we think is going to provide that venue for selection. If we can identify specific variations in animals' genotypes that's associated with differences in feed efficiency, we can then take those DNA markers and use in a diagnostic method across a much larger population of animals at a lower cost.
An important part of the 5-year project is its research and extension components. While nutritionists and geneticists focus on how to make cattle more feed efficient, extension specialists will concentrate on education and outreach to the industry. They're currently working with 20 seed stock producers and a large commercial ranch as part of the project.
And those producers will be using this technology early and feeding back information to the researchers that are involved in the project, as well as giving us feedback on an annual basis in terms of how the technology is working from them from a practical standpoint. So they're not only demonstrating the technology so other producers can see how it works, but they're also a sounding board for our researchers and for the extension folks in terms of how well this technology may be applied in the industry itself.
To do that, we understand that we have to have producers involved in this process. They've got to be a part of the process. They've got to be able to use this technology in their operations, and they've got to be able to measure the feed intake and the productivity of cattle that we have genotyped and told them these animals are more efficient than these animals. Because if they don't see it, they won't believe it and they won't pay for it.
Researchers believe their project can strengthen U.S. agriculture by increasing the amount of animal protein produced without straining feed crop production. It may also reap important information about reducing methane and other greenhouse gas emissions.
There's a great collaboration that's being built out of this project across institutions to gather resources that have been generated over the last 5 to 10 years, bringing that into the fold, and the number of new ideas that are developed through that group has been really rewarding.
For their part, the project scientists believe they're going to deliver some important results, and they anticipate an exciting new tool for cattle producers.
Until we started this work, if someone would have come to me and said that you can have animals and you can select for a population of animals, that you're going to reduce intake 10–20% and have the same level of performance, I would have never believed them, because biologically I would not have thought that was possible. And so to me, what's been fun is seeing what biology actually can do.
It's certainly timely. When corn is high priced, the importance of feed efficiency becomes increasingly important, and it becomes a higher proportion of the cost of production, and improving feed efficiency becomes not just something that is nice to do, but it's a necessity.
Reporting from Columbia, Missouri, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
The USDA NIFA Feed Efficiency Project has a website, that's beefefficiency.org, with fact sheets and webinars for producers who want to stay informed. It features an area where you can ask questions about feed efficiency as well. You can also find out more about the USDA Feed Efficiency Project by going to our website. That's cattlemantocattleman.org.